Hey guys, today we're checking out the Patagonia Nano Air versus the Outdoor Vitals Ventus. That's next. Having an active layer out in the backcountry is a crucial piece to have, especially when the temperatures start getting cold. It is important to be able to maintain a stable core temperature so you don't get too cold and freeze, while also being able to manage your layers so you do not also overheat and start to sweat. And that's really where active layers come into the picture. An active layer is not something that is meant to keep you warm while you're sitting still, sitting at camp, kind of like a down puffy would. Rather, an active layer is meant to manage your core temperature while you're doing high output activities such as hiking, snowboarding, backpacking, or anything else like that. As a result, active layers are meant to be super breathable while also having a lot of stretch for movement. Two jackets that are very popular as active layers is the Patagonia Nano Air as well as the Outdoor Vitals Ventus. So let's check them out in a bit more detail. The Nano Air has been a long-time standard for active layers and is one of Patagonia's top-selling jackets. They state the Nano Air hoodie was made to be worn for the entirety of your aerobic start-to-stop mountain activities, so you're never slowed down by having to change layers. The Nano Air is a great jacket for a wide range of activities that require high exertion. It's super breathable, stretchy, and comfortable, and it also comes in a hooded version or a non-hooded version. The Nano Air is made of recycled materials and is very environmentally friendly. It sells new for $329, but you can often find it on sale or even find some used versions. The Ventus is quickly becoming a very popular active layer for the backpacking and hiking world, and it's made by Outdoor Vitals. Outdoor Vitals is a backpacking cottage company that seeks to make quality and lightweight gear and clothing without the pricing of the big name companies. The Ventus is very good because it's super lightweight while also being breathable and stretchy. Ventus is named from the Latin origin word for wind, and this does a really good job of breaking the wind while also being able to be super breathable. The one I've been testing out is also in a men's small. One of the cool things about the Ventus is the price. It sells for only $180. Compare that to the Nano Air, which sells for $329. You're saving $149 by going with the Ventus as opposed to the Nano Air. Now let's consider some of the differences, starting with the shell fabric. The Nano Air actually features a 30 denier shell fabric with a slight bit of mechanical stretch. Patagonia says this is a 100% ripstop polyester shell and lining that is made of 87% recycled material. This gives it a good amount of durability while also being pretty lightweight. This ripstop polyester I really like because they feature a 4-way mechanical stretch, and so it doesn't restrict your movement in any way. It's very comfy, and I like those jackets that do have that stretch in it. It's also very soft and smooth to the feel, and the fabric is also coated with a DWR finish to help repel light rain. Over time, DWR finish does wear off and will need to be reapplied over time with Ink Wax. The Ventus, on the other hand, uses 20 denier ripstop nylon for the shell and inner liner. This helps make it ultra light while also being durable as well. Nylon compared to polyester is typically going to be a bit more durable, so you can get away with using a thinner denier. Nylon is also a bit rougher and not as stretchy compared to polyester. However, since it uses a thinner denier, it still feels pretty smooth to the touch, but you can tell a difference. It also has some pretty sufficient stretch in it as well. One of the cool things about the Ventus is that the shell is actually coated with an acrylic coating, and this actually acts as a way to help bead off rain. And the cool thing about this, unlike DWR, is that this is actually permanent, so you'll never need to worry about it having to be reapplied. This acrylic coating also acts as an extra barrier for the wind, so it does a good job blocking wind compared to the Nano Air. Another cool thing is on the Ventus, you also have some reflective print in the logo here and also this little area on the sleeve. So if you're riding a bike or if you're running, you can have that extra measure of safety there. So overall, comparing the shells, the Nano Air is going to be a bit more softer as well as stretchier, where the Ventus is going to be a bit more durable as well as doing a better job of blocking the wind. Let's talk about the insulation. The Nano Air uses 60 grams of full range polyester Thermalite insulation. This is 40% recycled material and it warms and also stretches. Full range insulation has a sufficient amount of loft and it provides more space for added warmth while also being stretchy and breathable. The Ventus, on the other hand, uses a Toray insulation of 25 grams of 3D Effects insulation. And this is insulation that stretches as well as creating maximum loft for warmth. Now 25 grams is a really small amount of insulation, but this has a really high warmth to weight ratio, and so it's very lofty, so you can get away with less insulation and still have quite a bit of sufficient warmth. Another cool thing is the 3D Effects insulation is actually a sheet of insulation. So what this means is you are not going to have any cold spots like you typically have in down jackets. The 3D Effects is a really high quality insulation, which is featured in some high quality jackets such as the KUIU Proximity jacket. The Ventus also uses this insulation in body mapped areas, putting extra insulation where you need it most and less insulation where you don't. So overall, the Nano Air uses a lot more insulation, almost more than half the insulation compared to the Ventus. Talking of the weight, the Nano Air here weighs 12.2 ounces, or that's 346 grams. Compare that to the Ventus, and it is only 7 ounces, or that's 199 grams. So quite a big difference when it comes to the weight of these jackets. Let's talk about breathability, which is one of the most crucial categories when considering these two jackets. For the Nano Air, considering the shell material as well as the insulation that is used, it gives it an air permeability of 35 CFM. This allows for excess heat to be able to flow out and move away from the body without overheating yourself. So it's a very breathable jacket, and considering the insulation that is used, it does trap the right amount of heat to keep you warm in those cold conditions, but it also is able to release heat to prevent you from overheating. Compare that to the Ventus here, and when you consider the shell and insulation that is used, the air permeability of the shell is only 20 CFM. So as I said earlier, nylon isn't the best for breathability, but using a thinner denier will help in that regard. But Outdoor Vitals sought to bring a few more extra features to assist in the breathability. One of those features is perforated holes under the armpits, and this acts like pit vents without the zippers having to open them up. So it saves weight in that regard while still allowing the excess heat to go out. Now, under your armpits is actually one of the biggest places where you actually tend to release heat, and so that's very strategically placed. There's also no insulation in that regard as well, so it's going to allow the flow of heat to be able to escape your body a whole lot easier. Where on the Nano Air, you obviously don't have anything like that underneath the pits. So overall, you can say that the Nano Air is going to be your more breathable piece. However, the Ventus is definitely still breathable and can hold its own. Now let's talk about the warmth. For the Nano Air, I can use it in a wide range of temperatures and still be comfortable when I'm doing higher exertion activities. The Nano Air has a lot more insulation, and it is going to be the warmer jacket, especially in those colder temps. While I'm active and moving, I've been able to take down the Nano Air all the way down into the high teens. But about in 43 degrees, I tend to start to get a little warm with the Nano Air. For the Ventus, I can use this in about 50 degrees and still be pretty comfortable because it does ventilate pretty well. And then for the Ventus, I started to feel cold while I was moving around 25 degrees, so I wouldn't really go any lower than that. If I did want something a bit warmer from Outdoor Vitals, I'd probably go with the Vario, which is something you can check in a future video. So the Nano Air overall is going to be that warmer of the two jackets in those colder temperatures. Let's talk about the quilting pattern or the seams and stitching these jackets use. For the Nano Air, as you can see, they don't have any baffles or anything like that. They do have certain seams where the pockets and materials kind of meet for certain areas, and this is a good job. The materials are really high quality where these seams are, so they're very dependable. The same thing can be said with the Ventus. Seams is very minimal, and where there are seams, they're very well done and very durable. Some areas it's double seamed as well, so for extra durability. But there doesn't need to be baffles or anything because it's not using down or doesn't have to keep insulation in place because this is a sheet of insulation, so no cold spots. So that's a pretty cool thing. Now let's talk about the pockets. This could be a deciding factor for many of you. For the Nano Air, you have two zippered front hand warmer pockets, and those are nice to store things and also put your hands in if you do happen to slow down and need time to keep warm. You also have a chest pocket at the top here that is zippered to store belongings such as keys or cell phone or anything like that. When you look at the Ventus, on the other hand, you don't have any pockets in the front. There's no hand warmer pockets, there's no chest zippered pocket in the front, and that's really as an avenue to try and help save weight. Now, if you think about it, it is a mid layer, which means you're supposed to wear layers over it, so you're really not going to use pockets if you're using it active in the backcountry anyways. For the inside of the jacket, the Nano Air does not have any additional pockets inside. It's only what you get on the outside. However, for the Ventus, you have this mesh pocket, inner pocket here. It's not zippered or anything. It's just a mesh with elastic right at the top of the chest there. So that's a nice little extra feature. If you need to store anything, you can in that. Let's talk about the cuffs. Both these jackets feature some elastic cuffs. So they have elastic on one side, about half of it, and the other half is just the normal material. And the same can be said with the Nano Air. There's a little bit more elastic that you do have on the Nano Air here. But they both do a sufficient job of keeping wind from penetrating inside your sleeves. You also have these thumb loops, and this is really because you're considering it to be a layering piece. So when you put a jacket over this, it's easy for your sleeves to roll up. Well, if you put in these thumb loops here, it's going to keep them nice and down to prevent any discomfort. One of the things to note is the sleeves are also a little bit slimmer on these jackets. If you do have bigger forearm muscles, you're a climber or anything like that, you might have a hard time raising your sleeves. Let's talk about the hems. For the Nano Air, all you have is elastic here. There's no hem cinch cord or anything, so it's not really adjustable. From my experience, it does do a sufficient job keeping the hem nice and tight around you, but it's not adjustable. Compare that to the Ventus. You actually have a cinch cord here on the bottom right-hand side, so you can adjust the hem. So if you need it tighter, you can go ahead and tighten it. If you need it looser, you can do that as well. So I much prefer the hem cinch of the Ventus because it gives me the adjustability to really dial in the necessary fit. Another thing to consider are the hoods. These hoods are very similar. The Nano Air is going to use a bit more insulation than the Ventus, but they're both insulated hoods. And they also are scuba hoods. So they're smaller hoods, they're thinner hoods, they're no excess material. There's also no adjustment cinch cords for these hoods as well. There is some elastic around the brim to hold tight to your face and head. So that's a nice feature as well. A cool thing about both these hoods is they do a good job of turning with your head. So if you turn your head, you don't have to worry about the hood just staying in one place. It turns with you as well. Let's talk about the zippers. The Nano Air features a full-length zipper. So it makes it very easy to take on and take off. It also uses YKK zippers, so there's very dependable, durable zippers as well. For the Ventus, it actually uses a quarter zip, and the quarter zip is nice because you can open it up to allow excess heat, but it does make it a little cumbersome to put on and take off, especially if you're wearing a helmet or goggles or anything like that. It also uses YKK zippers, so very high quality, durable zippers, but they are a lot smaller, and that's an effort to save weight, but they function just about the same. One extra feature that the Ventus has is they also have this wind flap behind the zipper to prevent wind from penetrating through the zipper, where the Nano Air really doesn't have that. So now thinking of weather resistance, overall you can tell by now that the Ventus is going to be your more weather resistant. It's not a rain jacket by any means, but because it uses that acrylic coating on the outer shell and nylon, it's going to do a better job of blocking wind, as well as that wind flap built into the zipper. It's going to block wind pretty well. And it's also going to repel rain a bit better than the Nano Air. Let's talk about the fit. The fit of the Nano Air fits true to size for me. I wear them in small typically in jackets, and this is a small and fit really good. I really enjoy the fit of this, and the cut was very nice. They call it a regular fit or relaxed fit, so it's not too baggy though, and it's also not too tight or restricting in any way. I really enjoy this fit. For the fit of the Ventus, they call this an athletic fit. For me, it feels more like a slim fit, and that's because they're trying to have it be closer to the body, closer to skin, to allow for moisture wicking. And it does a really good job of that, but it could mean it feels a bit tighter to you. And they call this a drop cut. And the drop cut is meant to give you that extra material, so if you're wearing a backpack, it's not gonna ride up and expose your back. It still has some stretch, so it shouldn't be restricting. For me though, I do have some broader shoulders, so this in a small did feel a bit restricting when I moved my arms a little bit compared to the Nano Air. So overall, when you consider the fit, I would say the Nano Air seems to be a bit more comfy. It's softer to feel.
it also is a bit looser, relaxed compared to the Ventus. So let's consider compression. There might be times when you don't need the jacket and you have it in your pack. Well, the compression of the Nano Air will compress, but there is no way to really compress into a front pocket or anything like that. You can compress it in the hood or something, but it's not going to be kind of bulky. This is kind of the best you're going to get. For the Ventus, on the other hand, the compression is really good because it's thinner and smaller. It can compress in its hood kind of like nothing, and it's super lightweight. So as a result, you can go ahead and compress it much smaller compared to the Nano Air.
So concluding thoughts, overall, both these jackets are excellent options, and you really have to ask yourself, what kind of activities and what kind of temperatures do I find myself needing these jackets for? Also, you need to ask yourself, what kind of budget am I having for these jackets? If budget really isn't an issue and you're gonna need a jacket for more of the colder kind of temperatures, then the Patagonia Nano Air is really a winner in my book. But if you're looking for something that's a bit more budget friendly while also being a good active layer, and you're not gonna take it into temperatures 20 degrees or colder, then the Outdoor Vitals Ventus is definitely a winner as well. So considering those things, if I had to choose between these two, I would go with the Outdoor Vitals Ventus, really because the pros outweigh the cons. Now the first pro is obviously the price. This, you're saving almost $149 getting the Outdoor Vitals Ventus compared to the Nano Air. Another pro is the weight. The Ventus is only 7 ounces. Compare that to the Nano Air, which is about 13 ounces, so almost double the weight of the Ventus. Another pro is these thumb loops. I really like this, especially when you're doing layering, because when you put a shell over this, the sleeves aren't going to roll up because you have thumb loops to help keep your sleeves down. Another pro that the Ventus has is the hem cinch cord. So you can tighten up the hems to prevent any air drafts from flowing in, making you cold. Another pro is these air vents underneath the armpits. That does a good job of releasing any hot excess air to prevent you from overheating. Now let's consider some of the cons. The first con is it's not going to take you down into as cold of temperatures as a Nano Air can. Another con is you don't have a full zip. It's only quarter zip, and so that makes it just a little bit harder to put on and put off compared to the Nano Air. Another con is it's not as stretchy compared to the Nano Air. The Nano Air uses a polyester 4-way mechanical stretch, where this does stretch a little bit. It's definitely not as stretchy as the Nano Air. Another con is the sleeves are pretty narrow. They're good to put on the jacket, but if you need to roll up your sleeves, you're kind of limited. Another con, and this might be the biggest con of this jacket, is you have no pockets. And typically when I put on a jacket, I like just to put my hands in there just to keep them warm, but this is kind of understandable. This is meant to be a layering piece. So what did you think of these two jackets? Which one won the jacket battle for you? Was it the Patagonia Nano Air or the Outdoor Vitals Ventus? Leave me a comment in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. If you like what you saw, make sure to give me a thumbs up. Also subscribe for more jacket battles like this. And as always, thanks for watching.